The Ringer's Austin Gayle joins the show, and we are ranking the top rookie contract quarterbacks we would want to start our team with right now.
This is Renner Ranks, the ultimate NFL ranking show. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into today's episode of Renner Ranks, your go-to daily rankings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Special shout out to those everydayers out there. Don't forget to subscribe and follow on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And I am your host, Mike Renner, NFL draft analyst over at The Messenger. Thursday's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy football, I think. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first buzz match of up to $100. I said off top, Austin Gayle joins the show today, ranking rookie contract quarterbacks. So who we would most want on the rookie contract if we're starting right now. So you're taking talent, ability, and their actual contract into play when going through this exercise. So it was a fun one, similar list, slightly different though. And unfortunately, the awesome, maybe not awesome actually, but like would have been great content-wise, Sean McDermott news that came out earlier today. Didn't get a chance to discuss, but my God, McDermott. I don't know if anyone's had a bigger fall from grace. When you were bringing up the 9/11 terrorists to try to prove a point to your team, I think you've lost the plot. I just think he may have lost the plot a little bit. Man, his public perception has just taken a nosedive this year. If they don't win this weekend in a big game against the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm not sure. I mean, and they missed the playoffs. I'm not sure he survives the season, man. It just could not have gone worse for him. All right, let's get to the AG interview, though. A lot of fun.
All right, Austin, you texted me today saying let's rank rookie contract quarterbacks and doing it based off of like a draft of who you want in the future, not who's the best right now. I think that would be kind of a boring rankings, but who we would take. So that's contract dependent, or like contracts taken into account, and then how we project them going forward also taken into account. So I'll give you the honor since it was your idea. Who do you have at number 5 here? We're going to rank the top 5 rookie contract quarterbacks.
Before we get into the top 5, I was going to ask your opinion of this. Could we go some honorable mentions? Just drop some please. Honorable mentions. Because I feel like who is on this list technically in terms of still being on a rookie contract, I don't think anyone is considering a top 5 player on a rookie contract. Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, I'd say Kenny Pickett's out of anyone's top 5 right now. I don't think Will Levis is actual honorable that. Mentions. Well, I feel like it was meant
voicing who the rookie contract QBs are. Yeah,
I guess you're right. I think the one honorable mention is an honorable mention because the one honorable mention that I would include, but he's not on a rookie contract, but kind of still is Jordan Love. Like Jordan Love isn't on a rookie contract because he signed that 1-year extension, but he's technically like still within that rookie contract window. He just had it renegotiated because he was being named the starter this year. I do think that he's someone that you're thinking about either 2 or 3 on this list if he's still technically on his rookie contract, given how much he's developed this year and how good he's looked specifically in these last few games. I don't know, but before we get into the top 5, can we get your take on Jordan Love? He's not on this list because he's not a rookie contract player, but like, you're a Packers fan, man. What have your thoughts been?
I said, gosh, when was this? Week 5 or something? I broke down all the first-year starting quarterbacks. And I said that he looked like a franchise guy, just in terms of like the things you usually worry about a guy having to deal with. Like it was really just early on in the season, he was inaccurate. And his inaccuracy was because he was throwing from any and every platform and didn't want to set his feet in the pocket. And I'm like, at some point, he's going to calm down from this. At some point, he'll stop that, even though that's like part of his game too. But like he'll stop being so reliant on that, and he'll get more accurate. And then all the other things that were good about him, whether it's the pocket presence, whether it's the arm talent, whether it's the windows he attacks, I think we're going to start to shine. So I was really a buyer early on. I was just more worried about this receiving core if they were ever going to turn it on. And then all of a sudden, I don't think it's coincidence that as soon as you see guys start making plays in traffic, start making plays at the catch point, that Jordan Love's numbers take off and this offense takes off. So, yeah, I'm a believer in Jordan Love. Now, is his ceiling like top 5 in the NFL? It's always hard to project, right? This is still his first-year starter. But he's definitely, if he's not their quarterback, you said they signed the 1-year extension. If he's not the quarterback after that year, so that would be the 2025 NFL season, I'll be really, really surprised.
Yeah, I remember writing. I sent out a tweet after the Packers' second game of the season, and I was like, Jordan Love's good. Like, he's good. The receiving core is super young. The offense overall is super young. It's unhealthy. Like, they weren't super healthy early parts of the season, but he's good. I think that he does have it in terms of being a guy that you want to build around and try and, Benjamin Solak, an analyst here at the Ringer, brought up on Extra Point Taken. If after this season or after next season, you're giving Jordan Love the Daniel Jones contract, I think you're stoked if you're a Packers fan, right? Like that kind of contract where he's not being paid at the top of the quarterback class, but you're paying him in that like upper middle range. I think that's the type of contract I'd like to see the Packers sign to. Maybe not after this season. Maybe you give him another year on this contract that he's on. But I don't know. Those are the numbers that start to make sense for me, where the Packers can, like, with this skill group getting better and obviously more mature. I don't know. I like where the Packers are trending.
Yeah, I've been more impressed with him than I've ever been with Daniel Jones. To me, he feels like kind of what we saw from Geno Smith last year, where it's like, oh wow, this is kind of real. Maybe that's the level he stays at. Maybe he's still going to be inconsistent the rest of his career, but you can live with that, as we're seeing. The Seahawks can win with that. The Packers can win with that. So we'll see.
Should we get into my actual number 5 now?
Let's see it. Who's your 5?
I got Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson at 5. I have him ahead of Bryce Young. I don't know if Bryce Young's in your top 5. I think that Bryce Young's number 6 for me on this list, factoring in the 3 years remaining on his contract and the 5th year option. But Anthony Richardson has that too. And from what we've seen from Bryce Young so far this year, I know that you still believe partially. Others are starting to doubt if there is a ceiling he can hit worth investing around. Like, that's where my opinion of Bryce Young is currently. I'm not saying he can't get better. I don't think this is the best we'll see of Bryce Young. I'm just starting to think as the sample size gets bigger of what he's done in the NFL, even with a better or an improved supporting cast, say what the Texans have, or if it gets all the way out to what the 49ers have, what is the ceiling of what you're getting from Bryce Young? I'd be interested to know what that is. With Anthony Richardson, I just think that ceiling's higher. Now, injuries are a massive concern, right? He is someone that so far through his NFL career is, for lack of better framing, just like been proven made out of glass, man. He can't stay healthy. It's been really hard for him to stay healthy in the NFL. That concerns me, but if he is able to stay healthy, I do think that Anthony Richardson, the ceiling I'm able to get with him in a similar offense that he's running with Shane Steichen in Indianapolis, from what we saw on a small sample size, yes. I think Anthony Richardson right now is someone that with 3 years and a 5th year option, I'm drafting him 5th among these guys.
Okay. Richardson did not make my list. I do not have him in my top 5. I can see the argument. I thought he looked on the path to becoming a franchise quarterback. It's just, how close is he, right? Because still very inaccurate. And now you have literally a throwing shoulder injury that is hampering him, and they're going to keep him out until next year. So it's like he still is not getting the reps. He has a throwing shoulder injury. Is his next year going to look like a rookie year? That's what I'm worried about. Yeah. Just not getting the playing time that he needs, because he didn't play a lot in college either. So he would have been 6 for me. My number 5, though, is Tua Tagovailoa. Whoa. Not that I hate Tua by any means, but you just look at his contract compared to kind of the rest of everyone else in this list, and it's like, is he – I guess I won't say who he's better, but like, is he better than a guy like Trevor Lawrence, who's obviously going to be ahead of him on this list? No. I think 10 times out of 10, you're taking Trevor Lawrence in that conversation. And then from a contract perspective, what he's about to get paid, $23 million next year on the 5th year option. And then just based off statistically what he's going to be able to command because of that offense on the open market, like what he's going to ask for, his agent's going to line up his stats with every other quarterbacks in the NFL, and they're going to look as good, if not better, over the last 2 years. Now, is it all him doing it? Obviously not. Everyone knows that, but that's still the way of the world, is that's what comes to the negotiating table, and he's probably going to get paid. He's probably going to top like Jalen Hurts' contract, right? He's probably going to get more than what he got. So that's my worry, is that how long can you win with Tua at his, at $50+ million a year? I still think he's a unique dude in the way he plays quarterback position. I think he gets wildly underrated because of that, but it's just, to me, he's far more expensive than the 4 guys I have ranked ahead of him on this list. And I like the 4 guys ahead of them too. Like, I think they're all good quarterbacks. So that's where I'm at with Tua going forward.
Man, I have Tua higher on my list, but not by much. I think I have him at 3, just to kind of extend the conversation on Tua Tagovailoa. I do think that what hurts him, and I think what drives him down to 4 on your list, is that you only have the 5th year option left. Yes. And this Miami Dolphins offense, even with Mike McDaniel staying, say in this hypothetical scenario, you were able to also draft Mike McDaniel. the problem isn't going to be like the offense catered around him. It's like, can you keep Tyreek Hill? Can you keep Teron Armstead? Can you sign Jalen Phillips to an extension? Obviously, he got hurt, but is he a part of the future of the franchise? Or are you not able to do those kinds of things because of the Tua Tagovailoa contract? Are you able to continue to invest in this offense? And like, what I'll go ahead and like turn that into who my number 4 is. It's Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, right now he has 2 years remaining left on his contract. No 5th-year option because he wasn't drafted in the first round. Hell, he wasn't drafted in the first 6 rounds. I have Tua ahead of Purdy because I think Tua is a better player. And I know that I'm not getting the 2 years contract advantage that I'm getting with Brock Purdy with Tua Tagovailoa. I just think Tua Tagovailoa is a better quarterback. However, Purdy's number 4 because 2 years left on objectively the cheapest starter in the league, who is making, I think, $49,000 a game versus a Deshaun Watson who's making $2 million a game. People ask how the San Francisco 49ers are good. They have one of the highest paid players at the offensive tackle position. They have one of the highest paid players at the running back position. They have one of the highest paid players at tight end. They're going to have 2 of the highest paid players at wide receiver. I think they're going to have Brandon Ayuk in the long-term plans and still have Deebo Samuel. Defensively, they have the highest paid linebacker, if not one of the highest paid linebackers. They have one of the highest paid, if not the highest paid defensive end. They're able to do all of those things because Brock Purdy is making $42,000 or $49,000 a game. And that leverage, like, they have maximized that opportunity, right? And like, once Brock Purdy is making more money, it's not going to be as easy. But here's the thing. The NFL is so beholden to draft capital that I don't even think Brock Purdy's contract is going to be that high. Like, it's going to be big. I think if he's a part of the long-term plans at San Francisco and the body of work that he has, especially if he wins a Super Bowl this year or next year, but he's going to be looking for some checks. But I think Tua Tagovailoa has a higher contract. I think Trevor Lawrence has a higher contract over the next 2 years. I don't even know if he cracks top 7, 8, 9 in terms of, money per year or salary per year average because of draft capital holding him back. We've seen time and time and time again, draft capital be the reason that your second contract isn't as big as what you're looking for. And if that happens with Brock, where he's like the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th highest paid quarterback in the league on his second contract, because of that, principle the NFL has in place, I mean, you're looking at a cheat code. And I have him at 4. Maybe I should have him above Tua Tagovailoa. I wouldn't put him ahead of the 2 quarterbacks I have at the top of this list. But man, like, the 49ers have really positioned themselves well to be competitive for a long time because of the Brock Purdy contract.
We'll go back to the interview in just a second, but today's podcast is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for a small business, you want as many top-tier candidates as possible to interview. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn is not just another job board. It has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which make it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy, and when you have that many qualified candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, and easy. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah, I debated putting Sam Howell on this list purely because, like, even those guys' contract compared to, even Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, $8 million a year that you're getting in savings, right? Like, that's still not jump James. That's still one more starter that you can add to those rosters with guys like Brock Purdy and Sam Howell. So I had Brock Purdy actually number 3. So my top 5 start off here. I went 2 of 5. Bryce Young I have at number 4. And then Brock Purdy, number 3. And to echo what you said about Brock Purdy, it's like, he's not great. I don't think he's anything special. But that's an offense that, like, is not and has never asked anyone to do anything special in it, right? Like, it's never asked people to go out there and play quarterback and win it all themselves. It doesn't put 5-step, 7-step dropbacks 20+ times a game in the play sheet ever. That's never in the cards for a Kyle Shanahan coached offense. So you can have all the talent in the world in that regard, and it really won't, really kind of meaningless in that offense. I'd say meaningless, but it's just not as valuable. It's only going to come into play in certain situations. And most games they avoid those because they're so dominant from the start. Like, he's so good at running it from the beginning on those play actions, on those quick passes to start, that they just bury you. And so, yeah, I do think that Brock's number 3, but I have Bryce Young number 4, just because one, the pre-draft eval, to the worst situation in the NFL, and not just the worst situation, a situation where they're like actively meddling to try to make them worse. It was like Trevor Lawrence's year 1, right? The parallels are so similar. And it's like, you have this horribly mismanaged situation. The only thing is, the guy who mismanaged it in Jacksonville is gone. The guy who mismanaged it in Carolina may still be there. So that is a problem, but we're drafting him to my team. I'm not drafting him to go play in Carolina. We're drafting him to play on my team. And I still trust the pre-draft eval to a strong degree on Bryce Young, because that's how good he was at the collegiate level. It just would really floor me if that guy failed in the NFL.
I think I'm too low on Bryce Young. I have him at 6. That's behind Tua, Brock, and Anthony Richardson. I have Tua at 3, Brock at 4, Anthony Richardson at 5, and then Bryce Young at 6. That might be too low, because I was high on Bryce Young. I like Anthony Richardson more. I like C.J. Stroud more, but I did like what he was at Alabama. We just have not been able to see that in Carolina, I think for two main reasons. One, the supporting cast is horrendous. The offensive line is bad. The receiving core is bad. And then, I don't know if you read that piece from The Athletic today. Go read it. Go read the piece on The Athletic about the Carolina Panthers organization and ownership stepping in. When ownership is telling coaches to fix a quarterback's footwork, you've gone too far. That's micromanagement to a level that is insane. Insane to me.
Yes. And the hilarious thing is, he said he's not dropping deep enough in the pocket. And anyone that watched him at Alabama, his whole thing was he dropped so deep in the pocket, and people were like, is that going to translate to the NFL? It's like, well, now he's not.
It's like, what? The first time a head coach has been fired that few games into their tenure since, I want to say in 40 plus years. Yeah, that's insane. What Tepper is doing in Carolina is scary. I think that it's not going away either. Don't factor that into this exercise, right? And I think maybe I overdid that, because it's really been hard to evaluate Bryce Young in this situation when he's getting snip, snap from ownership to coaching to whoever, and then also dealing with his best receiver is 50 years old and Adam Thielen. It's a problem. It's a problem in Carolina.
Yeah, I would not. I mean, it has to turn around though, right? I think things have to change next year, or else Tepper's going to be. I mean, he's very close to laughingstock status. He's going to cement himself if things don't work out there with Bryce Young. All right, who's your top 2?
I got Trevor Lawrence at 2. Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than C.J. Stroud right now. I think there's a chance that Trevor Lawrence.
Not right now.
No, not right now.
He's got one ankle.
Yeah. When healthy, Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than C.J. Stroud is right now. I think that there's a chance 5 years from now, Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than where C.J. Stroud is right now. We don't know that. We don't know that second question. We don't know who's going to be better in 3 years' time or 4 years' time or 5 years' time. What we do know is that it's close. It's close. C.J. Stroud is damn good and playing excellent football in an offense that I don't think is as cheap, for lack of a better word, as the Miami Dolphins offense or the San Francisco 49ers offense. I don't think Slowick is putting as many layups out there as Mike McDaniel is with Tua Tagovailoa or as Kyle Shanahan is doing with Brock Purdy. It's a similar offense. Obviously, Slowick is part of the Shanahan tree, but I really like what C.J. Stroud is doing as a pre-snap and post-snap processor. I like what he's doing under pressure. He is doing a lot of the things that I want to see more from Brock Purdy, and I want to see more from Tua Tagovailoa. I can comfortably say that C.J. Stroud, who's my number 1, you can kind of see that, is doing a lot of things. I like C.J. Stroud a lot more than what I'm seeing from Tua Tagovailoa. I like C.J. Stroud a lot more than what I'm seeing from Brock Purdy. I think Trevor Lawrence is better now. Why I have Trevor Lawrence too is he only has 1 year left on his deal and then the 5th-year option, right? You're going to have to pay Trevor Lawrence probably this offseason, right? I don't think he's going to be a quarterback that you're going to want him to play on the last remaining year of his contract and go into the 5th-year option situation. He's proven enough. He's shown enough that you're going to want to back up the Brinks truck for him. That, to me, you have more opportunity with C.J. Stroud now. You have more opportunity on this cheat code, one that the Cincinnati Bengals tried to take advantage of, got far, but weren't able to go the whole way. One that the Justin Herbert and Los Angeles Chargers completely failed to take advantage of because of Brandon Staley and whatever's going on there. The Houston Texans, who I think have a very talented defense, who have a young and upcoming offense that needs to continue to add pieces, they have this opportunity to chase a deep AFC playoff run and add a ton of talent around Stroud over these next few years that the Jacksonville Jaguars won't have that same flexibility. Now, if I'm drafting to my team, I want Trevor Lawrence at 2, C.J. Stroud at 1.
Get back to the rest of the conversation with Austin Gayle in just a second. But first, today's podcast is brought to you by Skylight. Are you going to be giving gifts to friends, family with a young child or new baby? Instead of looking back through a camera roll, you can display photos of family in real time as your loved ones grow and change every day. Maybe they don't love sharing photos of their child on social media, and so photos get buried in group text messages or on a camera roll. New parents are always strapped for time and need an easy way to stay in touch with the rest of their family. The best thing to give a new parent that will bring them consistent joy is the Skylight Digital Picture Frame. Skylight is a touchscreen photo frame that you can send photos to straight from your phone, and they appear in seconds. You can even preload photos before the box is open. It's the perfect gift for everyone: grandparents, new parents, spouse, or just a friend. As a special limited time offer for our listeners, get $15 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/LockedOnNFL. To get $15 off your purchase of that Skylight Frame, go to skylightframe.com/LockedOnNFL.
Yeah, this one's not even a debate, honestly. I have the exact same order at the top. And it's not even, I don't care how you view them from a talent perspective, right? That's irrelevant. I would put them maybe Lawrence at the bottom of one tier, Stroud at the top of the next one after that. But it's close enough that 3 years of cheap versus one more year of cheap, right? That's the debate. It's 3 more years after this of a guy cost controlled where $40 million less than what he's going to make in the open market versus 1 more year of a guy cost controlled where he's going to make $40 million less than what he's going to make in the open market. That's that. And the knowledge of that, what that allows you to do from a GM perspective, and then how you sort of manage contracts, whether it's free agency, whether it's extending guys on your roster already, is invaluable. Saying like, I know this piece is there. I can have this window that I know I can maximize. And you don't have to worry about, whether you're, spending a lot of free agent money, maybe wrecking your cap for no short-term benefit when you have a guy like a Bryce Young, where it's like, I could go out and sign all these free agents, but like, if it doesn't work, well, then I just, even set us back further. So yeah, to me, it's Trevor Lawrence 2, C.J. Stroud 1. And that's like a clear 1-2. The only guy I could see sneaking in there is Brock Purdy, depending on your thoughts of Brock Purdy. Just because he's so cheap. And that's like, but compared to, so CJ Stroud's last 2 years of his deal are going to be $9 million and $11 million compared to, $1 million and $1 million for Brock Purdy. It's like, that's not a big enough for me to go Brock or Stroud. It's not big enough.
Something with Brock that I'm interested in is after this season, are you not like, dude, I'm holding out? Or something like,
can't you not until his 4th year in the NFL? You can't even sign an extension until after his 3rd year. Yeah.
Well, so you're right. Man, that sucks. That sucks. Because he's making
dude, and especially because he's in the most expensive city in America. It's not, I mean, I'm assuming he doesn't live downtown San Francisco or whatever. I assume he's trying to but he's not living large. $1 million, if he got drafted by the Packers doing this, he's living large in Green Bay.
Yeah, you're right.
If he's, a handful of other cities in America that you get drafted to, he'd be having a good time. Bay Area, he's not. Like, he's probably paying $3,000 a month for rent. And obviously, like, when you're making $1 million, it's like, whatever. But there's a lot of expenses. A lot of that's coming out in tax to the state of California, too, that he does not need to be doing. So he better get to that. He better get to that second contract, man. He deserves it.
There's a pretty decent, not decent, I'd say there's a chance out there. That he wins the Super Bowl. And then next year he makes $1 million.
Yeah.
That's it. And there's you can't.
He wins the Super Bowl, though, you get ads. He'll at least have ad revenue or whatever, sponsorship, whatever. But
he's a cute kid. I think he's got chances there.
But like
Gerber baby stuff.
He already had the elbow, right? Say like he has complications with that next year. Wins the Super Bowl, has complications with that. He may not ever see that second contract, which would be out of this world. He would have. I would be pissed as him.
The injury risk,
it's not like I'm just saying like. Not wishing him on anyone, but like that, like he's already playing through a pretty legit elbow injury that could, that's like pretty vital to what you do as a quarterback. Wild that he's like already come back from it this strongly. So
man. I think that was a good exercise. There's a clear gap, right, between Stroud and Lawrence to the Purdy. I'd say the Purdy Tua conversation, but then even like including like who's your favorite rookie from this year not named Stroud, right? Is it Anthony Richardson? Is it Bryce Young? Is it Will Levis? Whoever.
I was going to say, so I think there's 2 quarterbacks. So Howell, I guess we mentioned Howell a little bit, I was going to say, but then Levis were probably the only other two that you could even like debate into this, right? I could see Levis versus Richardson, depending on how you see those two, because Levis has shown flashes himself. Like, he doesn't look like he's going to be an outright Zach Wilson, right? Like, he's going to, by all means, looks of it, he's probably going to play out his rookie contract there in Tennessee. I don't see them moving on from him anytime soon, depending on how things go over the next year.
Give him the full year next year. Why not?
It's definitely going to be their starting quarterback next year. At that point, he's making a lot less than Anthony Richardson, right? Your second round contract versus first round contract, somewhere in the neighborhood of $7 million a year difference there. So I could see that.
Are we out on Justin Fields?
Yeah, I think we are. I don't think there's any, because again,
it's over.
He turns good. It's expensive, and you're at this rate, you're not taking his 5th year option, right? I think that'd be crazy to do, because that's 5th year option for a guy drafted there is going to be in the neighborhood of $20 million. Because did he make a Pro Bowl last year or something, or did he? I don't know. When you make anything, if you make a top 100, you probably get the escalator in your rookie contract too, the NFL top 100. But it's going to be expensive if he does turn out to be good. So yeah, I think that's.
I'm also out on Howell. I don't think.
Oh yeah, you hate Howell. I saw you had like a blurb that got bandied around about Sam Howell shouldn't even be their starter next year. I was like, oh,
I don't think he should be. I don't think he's not even the best quarterback on their roster. I think Jacoby Brissett wins more games for them this year. I honestly feel like Jacoby Brissett wins more games for them this year. They've won 4 games.
That's not crazy, but it's also he's not been so bad that you are moving on from him entirely. I don't think.
I mean, he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league this year in terms of dropback efficiency, because he's on pace to have a record amount of sacks. And also he's on pace for a record amount of dropbacks, and like it's a heavy passing offense and all that stuff. I don't know. Like, their wins this year are against the Arizona Cardinals in week 1, the Denver Broncos in week 2, the Atlanta Falcons in week 6.
It's quality win.
And then they beat the Patriots in week 9. Those are their 4 wins this year. They beat one of the 4 worst teams in the league. Denver Broncos, before that Miami Dolphins game, were one of the worst teams in the league, still figuring it out. The Arizona Cardinals, when they were starting at the top of the year, Josh Dobbs were still figuring things out. The Patriots are one of the worst teams in the league. They've been terrible this year. The only thing that people are beholden to is that he's got a lot of passing yards, but he has more dropbacks than any player in the league.
You have to, at least in that conversation of they've been horrible this year, say that they have a bottom 3 defense in the NFL.
Yeah, they do.
You saw that Miami game was an absolute joke, dude. How are you letting? You're running like cover 3 against Miami.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So you have Howell. Howell and Ritter are like close for me. Why shouldn't they be? Why shouldn't Howell and Ritter be close to me?
Ritter's done nothing in terms of passing volume.
I know Ritter stinks. Ritter
got
beyond that, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'd rather be moving on anyway. I'm moving on anyway. And now, like, if they don't have a choice and they're more like a Tennessee Titans Levis situation, and you give Howell another year just because what else are you going to do? Fine. But I would not be surprised if it's just as bad next year. Especially, I don't know if you saw those rumors that Eric Bieniemy might leave for a head coaching position. If that organization needs to change its name, change its colors. It needs to move off of Ron Rivera. If you can keep Eric Bieniemy, keep Eric Bieniemy. But if you can't, you're moving on from him. And I think that with Sam Howell there, say Sam Howell remains the starter. I mean, outside of that, they've already cleaned house on 2 of their best defensive players. I don't know. Like, the Commanders are such a yes, they have new ownership, and I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited. But like, at the same time, what if you could only pick one piece? Is it Terry McLaurin? What else? Who's the best player on that team?
John Allen, probably.
Yeah.
But no, they're bereft. They need a hard reset for sure. They just need to draft well, right? They've been drafting so seat of their pants. It's been horrible to watch. You have to admit though, Sam Howell's made some filthy throws this year. His highlight reel of throws is right up there with anyone that's in the NFL this year, and that's not irrelevant, right? Yeah. That's like the thing that's hardest to do. He can do. Now, can he do any of the easy things? We'll see. I think he's gotten better about the sacks. He's gotten better about sacks, and he is playing behind a bad offense line. But the sacks are mostly on him. The volume is mostly on him.
Justin Fields, Sam Howell, Mac Jones, Desmond Ritter, Will Levis, Kenny Pickett, all those guys say Howell's even the best of that tier. Still not great. Still not super stoked on those guys. I'm not like, oh man, this offseason we had a couple pieces. No, I think they lose the NFC East again next year. They finish third at best in the NFC East. What does that get you? What is that? What? And then so like you pay him next year? I don't know. I just like, are we just like kicking the can for fun?
I mean, with that roster, you almost have to kick the can with that roster, dude. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Like you just need to get talent, right? He's cheap enough. And that's why we're talking about this. You're cheap enough for 3 years. You can put this conversation off if you're not drafting 1-2 in a draft. And if you really do suck, and if he really does suck, then next year you'll probably be in that mix again. So I think you got to I think he gets, I don't even think, I'm guessing, I would bet there's a very, very good chance he gets 2024 at least.
I think he does too, because I don't think they have a choice and they're not going to be drafting high enough to do anything about it. And I don't think they're going to go pursue. Now, I could see ownership say, hey, let's go get a guy in free agency, maybe a Kirk Cousins or something, bring him back, redemption tour season. I don't know.
All right, brother. That was a good combo. Thanks for coming on again.
I'll see you.
Always great catching up with AG. We'll be talking the best non-Power 5 prospects, ranking the top one at each position on the Friday episode. So looking forward to that. That's for you draft diehards out there diving into draft season. Cannot wait for it. Thanks for tuning in. Renner Ranks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.